All right, let's go over some of the features you'll find with final exam and final grades while you're in PlusPortals. So you're looking at a gradebook here, a sample gradebook, and right now we're actually in the first marking period. So we're going to go to the fourth marking period. You might notice even in the fourth marking period we don't see the final exam column. That's because we're in the built-in name and average view. So to start off, we have two options. We could click on the RC view or report card view, and from the report card view, we could see that the final exam column is available to us. Or if we have a custom built view, maybe we've set up our own where we've included an IEP view here, and we want to be able to see the final exam in this as well. You can see I've already configured it as such. But to show you how, you click on template options, click edit, and for you, if final exam isn't there, it'd be on the left-hand side in the gradebook columns. And you want to switch it over to the selected gradebook column. So just click the right arrow, and final exam, the final exam column will be viewable to you. But let's go back to the report card view. If you've not entered a final exam before, it will be locked. So when you go to enter it, this locked button will be there. You'll unlock it, and that will give you the ability to change the number of points. Initially, it'll start off with 0. That will be the default setting. So however many points you want to set this to is up to you. We'll just go with 100 for right now. And the system is already built in to give 21% to the first marking period, 21% to the second, 21% for the third, 21% for the fourth, and then 16% for the final exam. And you can see here, right, if a student has a 0 in the first marking period and 100s and everything else, they'll get a 79, or they'll lose 21 points off of their total grade. If we make the final exam a 0, we should see 16 points drop off of the final average once we recalculate it. And we do. It goes down to a 63. So keeping that in mind, I know many teachers, if a student in the first marking period just does not show up to work, and let's say they do, 0 is probably a bit hyperbolic, but let's say they get like a 37, and it's part of your class rules that no one in the first marking period gets below a 65, and you override the grade in that first marking period. So we'll go to name and average and go back to the first marking period, and you're going to say, even though their first marking period average was a 0, we're going to give them a grade of a 65. So we'll save that and recalculate. And then we're going to go back to report card view. And there's something that's very important I want you to see here. And we'll make this, remember we had a 79 before when we had a 0 in that marking period. Notice in that marking period, we still have a 0 average, but we've increased their grade to a 65. But when we go over to the final grade, notice that their final average is still a 79, and that's based on the averages. So the final average is calculated off of the averages in each marking period that the system has, not the final grade that you may have overridden it to. And so I'll be sending out an Excel spreadsheet to help you with that process. So let's say our average is 0, 100, 100, right? We've got a 79. And so there's just 2 rows in this spreadsheet that I'll be including. The first is what your average is, and then the second row would be if you've overridden that average in any of the marking periods. So I'll make this a 65, and that actually means the students final grade with that overridden average would be a 92.65. I'd round that up to a 93. And just like in an individual marking period, you can go in and override the final grade. And that is the grade that gets imported by the guidance office and reported on the report cards. So they would, if you would go in and override that final grade, they would get a 93. So this is very important. If in any of the marking periods or on their final exam, you've overridden their average and given it a different grade than what the average is, you also need to override their final grade because the system will calculate that final grade based on the averages given in the previous marking periods and in the final exam column. That goes over the 4 basic features of the final exam: viewing the final exam column, creating a custom view which includes the final exam, entering a final exam grade, and then editing the final year grade if you're overriding the grade for the previous term. So if you have any questions, please contact me.